Hey there! In this video, we will work with the theme of problematic behavior. We explain some theoretical models, which can help explain and better understand the problem behavior in children with intellectual disabilities. There is always the possibility to pause the video, slow it down, or speed it up. We start with the definition of problem behavior. Problem behavior is behavior that is disturbing and undesirable for others or for the person himself. How does problem behavior actually manifest itself? For this, it is important to consider a few characteristics. Problem behavior is characterized by internalizing and/or externalizing behavior. In other words, behavior that you can observe, behavior that you cannot observe. Socially and culturally undesirable for the individual and/or environment. The behavior does not correspond to the child's developmental level. It manifests itself in a specific context. For example, in the event of misunderstanding, bad day, large group. And then we have the last one. Intensity, frequency, or duration is harmful and/or stressful for the child and/or the environment. To better understand problem behavior, we will work with a case. We will go through this case together on the basis of a few key questions. These core questions support the practice of observation. We emphasize once again that this is an exercise. These are possible examples, so caution is necessary. It is a flexible process that can always change or be adapted. Possible hypotheses are formulated, and this is then tested each time. We start with a sketch of the situation. Some background information. Musa is an 8-year-old boy with an intellectual disability. He loves music and structure immensely. He quickly becomes tense in busy environments and unexpected changes. Every day he eats his lunch at 12 o'clock sharp. Then we consider the key questions that help us to observe. These questions are, what do you see? What is going on? What is the situation? How do you respond? What is the possible cause of this behavior? What do you see? It's lunch break. Musa always eats together with the other children. It is now 12:15 p.m., and lunch is not there yet. Musa is restless. He walks back and forth, looks away, and starts fidgeting with his pants. Suddenly, he stands up. He takes his empty plate and throws it away with great force. Musa screams and walks away from the group. What is going on? Musa shows an eruption. He throws his plate and shows verbal protest, shouting. The behavior comes suddenly and seems to arise from tension or misunderstanding. The other children are startled. The supervisor remains calm and speaks to him. What is the situation? Usually the children eat at 12 o'clock, but today it was a few minutes later. Musa is not prepared for this. The fixed structure has been interrupted for him. He was not informed, so this causes confusion and frustration for him. How do you respond? The supervisor goes to him and says calmly, I see that you are angry, Musa. It's okay. I'll explain why we eat a little later. She gives him some space and checks if the other children are okay. She pulls out a visual daily rhythm card. She points to the clock and shows that lunch is a little later. Today, we eat a little later, then we go to rest. She accompanies him to his resting place, where he can relax until dinner is ready. What is the possible cause of this behavior? Musa's outburst was triggered by a change in the daily routine. Due to his intellectual disability, he does not understand why it is later, and he cannot indicate this properly. This causes confusion, insecurity, and frustration for him. That frustration manifests itself in throwing his plate and yelling, angry behavior. The underlying reason is that Musa relies on the fixed timing. He doesn't know what's happening. He is hungry and does not understand. His behavior is a way of saying, I don't know what's happening. Now that we have gone through this case together, we can take a moment to reflect on the iceberg model. What is the iceberg model? This is a model that helps to understand problem behavior. You can see a photo of the iceberg model here. The visible behavior is above the water limit. Think of hitting, throwing a plate, running away. The visible behavior is the tip of the iceberg. Below the waterline lie the deeper and invisible causes, the things that you cannot perceive directly and are therefore invisible. It is very important to start from observation. You observe what happens, and then you can bring in the iceberg model. If we now take the example of Musa, this becomes a little clearer. The visible behavior, the behavior that lies above the water. What do you see? Musa throws his empty plate. He screams and walks away. So this is the tip of the iceberg. What lies underneath now? Feelings such as frustration, insecurity, and confusion. Musa also does not understand what is happening. He needs clarity and security. This is what we cannot immediately see, but it does have a major influence. If we look at things underwater, we better understand why Musa shows this behavior. So it's not what is he doing, but what is he trying to tell us? Understanding the behavior underwater, the invisible, is sometimes difficult. It's not always that simple and can be complex. To illustrate this, we take a look at a theoretical model called Dozen's model. This one of many models that teaches and helps us understand underwater behavior. This is therefore a possible tool that can help with understanding emotional development, the emotions, feelings, and thoughts. But the starting point always remains the same, namely, start by observing. Dozen's model helps to understand and support people with intellectual disabilities. The focus is mainly on mapping emotional development by using hypotheses. You need to test these hypotheses to see if they help. If the first hypothesis doesn't work, you try another one until you find the right way. Emotional development is difficult for children with intellectual disabilities. This is often not in balance and causes different forms of expression. There's a big difference between being able to do something and being able to handle it. For example, Musa is able to speak, but in busy or overwhelming environments, he struggles to find his words. He falls silent and stops communicating. Why is this model important? When the support does not fit the child's needs, it can cause the behavior to stay or get worse. The core problem often means that a child is over-questioned or under-questioned. This in turn causes frustrations, irritations, and an increase in problem behavior. We emphasize the possible fluctuations in problem behavior. One moment, the child is behaving in this way. The next moment, he is not. There are several factors that can influence this. Safety is a basic feeling that is extremely important. A child with an intellectual disability goes through the same phases as a typically developing child. The difference is in the duration. The development phases take longer and their development stops faster. We briefly show the 5 phases. Phase 1 is the adaptation phase, the phase of the we feeling. The child can change mood from one moment to the next. This involves alternation between balance and imbalance of the child. Phase 2 is the socialization phase. Also the phase of the we feeling. This involves trust and distrust. During the first 2 phases, there is a particular need for strict proximity. For example, a child who seeks a lot of physical contact. Phase 3 is the first individualization phase. This is the transition from the we feeling to the I am. There is an alternation between being together and me, self, being. So it's more about seeking contact from a distance. Here, the guidance and support should not always be present, as in the same room, but only when the child needs it. Think of a moment when a child falls. Then there must be closeness. Phase 4 is the identification phase. The I feeling, I can, I want, I dream. I can't, I don't dare. What will they say? Here there is a balance between oneself and others. There is also alternation between entrepreneurship and being inhibited. The last phase is phase 5, the reality awareness phase. The I, feeling, me and the world. There is an alternation between self-confidence and inferiority. In the 4th and 5th phase, the supervisor takes more and more distance. Here she will only remain present to the extent that the child needs it. A different guidance style is recommended for each phase. The child gains more and more independence throughout the different phases, depending on the level of development one is in. The guidance is a flexible process. It alternates between distance and proximity. Let us begin with some exercises on the basics. A 6-year-old child with an intellectual disability often seeks physical contact with the caregiver and cries when he walks away for a while. Which phase? The adaptation phase. Explanation. The child seeks closeness, has changing moods, and a strong need for physical contact. A normal developing child would be in the identification phase, but because of her intellectual disability, she didn't develop that far. A 12-year-old with an intellectual disability happily says, "I want to be a teacher when I grow up," but then withdraws because he thinks other children are going to laugh at him. Which phase? The identification phase. Explanation. Here it is about the I feeling, daring and dreaming, but there is also still uncertainty. What will the other person think about me? A normal developing child would be in the stage of reality awareness, but because of his intellectual disability, he didn't develop that far. Let's go over a few tips. Keep these in mind. They give you a quick summary and repeat what you've learned. Tip 1. Look beyond the visible behavior. Don't jump to conclusions. First, observe carefully and focus on what you see. Try to understand the child's underlying needs. What is the reason behind their behavior? Tip 2. Observe in different situations. A child does not always show everything to everyone. Observe at different times, during different activities, and with different supervisors. Tip 3. The theoretical models are a tool. The models can be used. It is a tool. You don't have to use them all the time. It's an option. Tip 4. Discuss and consult with colleagues. What you don't see, someone else may see. By watching together and sharing experiences, you get a more complete picture. Tip 5. A child may learn slower. Be patient. Development happens in small steps. Focus on growth, not shortages. Tip 6. Try to take a loving approach. This ensures a safe environment for the child and more opportunity for the child to learn and grow. We will briefly go over the tips again. 1. Look beyond the visible behavior. 2. Observe in different situations. 3. The theoretical models are a tool. 4. Discuss and consult with colleagues. 5. A child may learn slower. Be patient. 6. Try to take a loving approach. Thank you for watching. We hope you understood everything and enjoyed it as much as we did. Talk about this video with other experienced colleagues.